thank you for tuning in. I am Jay Lee. This is Jay Lee's Corner, and this is my review for How to Get Away with Murder. Y'all notice how I like to say it. Well, no, because I only think I only reviewed this show one at a time. Anywho, I am one day late. I typically like to do the shows the day they come on, but it's too many shows on, and I be getting tired, and I'm just trying to make it do what it do. So, this is a little bit of a late review. At first I was like, I'm not going to review How to Get Away with Murder. I said I was also not going to review Scandal. Because Scandal is not, giving me what I feel like I need. And then last week I did not review How to Get Away with Murder because I was just tired. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not even in the mood. But when I watched today's episode, fuck, my shirt is down too low. When I watched yesterday's episode, it was good for How to Get Away with Murder. I was very intrigued. They have a couple new, well, at least it's a little bit of new stuff on there. So I'm like, no, I'm going to go ahead and review it because I liked the episode. I didn't really like Scandal. So, and it's the last season of Scandal. So I'm like, I think for Scandal, I'm just going to review it if it's a good episode, but I'm not going to consistently review it every Thursday. Like, if I do a Scandal review, it'll probably be up on Friday or Saturday, one of the two. But, yeah, anywho, let's get into How to Get Away with Murder. I'm not going to do my typical scene by scene by scene by scene. I feel like the episode today, I feel like the way the episodes are done now, I can kind of go story by story. It's cool how they have it written this season where it's kind of 2 or 3 different stories within all the cast. You have Annalise's story of the things that she's doing, but also the kids, the interns, now have their own separate stories, kind of separate from Annalise. And then you also have the whole Nate Bonnie situation, and now how we see Michaela works at Kaplan and Gold, and I like how there's different stories, but they all kind of tie into together. So I'm gonna, I guess, handle the interns and their situations first, and then go into Annalise. For the most part, the most interesting parts of the interns is Michaela's story. But I'll start with the other people first. We see that Connor has dropped out of school. Connor is the quintessential slacker, or not even that, kind of like a typical, I don't have to do this, so I'm not going to do this, fuck it. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of what he is portraying currently, because who drops out of law school just because you can't get an internship somewhere? You're taking the easy way out. So we see that he dropped out of law school, and the school gave him a check. I'm like, is that how schools work? Did they just cut you a check right there? Like, you quit and you get a check with $32,000? I didn't know how that worked. I should go to school and pay it. I gotta have the money first. That's the gotcha. So yeah, he quit. The school gave him a refund of what was left or whatever he had paid. It's like 32 grand, and he wants to spend that money at a gay strip club. Yeah, he's there putting dollar bills in people's shorts or whatever the outfits were the guys were having. And that's his whole thing. He's kind of just feeling down. Like he's depressed when he has no real reason to be. You a white man in the mirror. You better go out there and make it do what it do. And, Oliver, what's his boyfriend's name? Oliver is like, what the hell is wrong with you? So they kind of have a little fake intervention thing to try to talk him out of it. They all meet up at one of their houses. So all of them are there. Laurel, Connor, Oliver, even Bonnie and, was Bonnie there? Maybe Bonnie wasn't there, but Frank was there. Frank made meatballs. Asher was there, and of course Michaela. And, he didn't listen, because at the end of the episode, he was back in the dang on Naked Man joint, putting dollars in they short things, and then who walks in? His dad's. Yes, dad's with an S. Connor's parents are 2 men. His fathers are gay. So, you know, it is what it is. And that's the O'Connor thing. Laurel is still trying to prove that her father killed Wes, basically. She is still investigating. She's trying to get Michaela to help her because, as we know, Michaela works at the law firm that represents or works with that works with Laurel's father. So, you know, there was a scene where Laurel went to Michaela like, I need you to you need to get this job, and I need you to get me information from the law firm on my father. Michaela's like, you want me to jeopardize the job of this dream firm to help you with this idea that your father killed Wes? You know, you're just as crazy as Wes was when he was tripping over the whole Sam and, you know, the help, you know, just you're tripping. You know, Michaela isn't here for all the antics. She's like, look, this is my dream job. I'm not ruining it for you. No. So, you know, Michaela is working at Kaplan and Gold. The law firm just feels so new and fresh. You know, the walls are white, the seats are white, it looks so clean. And, you know, who else works there? The boy, what's his name? Simon Drake. It's the guy he's been on the episode. He's been on the show since the beginning. He's always the kid who doesn't like them. He's always like throwing darts at them to like kind of, you know, to hit them where it hurts. And, you know, he also got the internship there too. And Michaela's there. There's they showed two attorneys. They both happen to be black. But the female attorney, who is Deacon Price, is played by Amira Van. I hope I'm pronouncing her first name right. She played Ernestine on the TV show Underground that was on WGN. It was canceled after 2 seasons. It pissed me off. I loved her as Miss Ernestine. She was such a strong character and a strong actress who played that role. So I'm happy to see her in something else that I like. And even with her not having many lines, her presence alone says something. Like, I get that she didn't have many lines today, but you can tell she gonna be on the show. Okay, she's on the show, and I love it. What else? They had like a whole, I'm gonna say like a Spartacus type fight, not fight really, but you know, the law firm made the interns all kind of have a tournament to where they ask them all questions about the firm, and the interns have to answer the questions. Like the top 4 go head to head, and then the top person who wins it gets to pick which partner they want to work with. So at the end, Michaela ends up going against Simon, and Deacon, who is the female partner there, she's telling Michaela, you know, you have to beat him. And Michaela like, I thought that was a great place for women to work. And she's like, it is, but if he loses, it's not that bad because he's a guy. If you lose, you are a woman who lost. So you need to win, because I also bet $2,000 that you will win. And, you know, Michaela does win. And she also chooses to work with Deacon, you know, as her intern. So I kind of knew that was going to happen. I saw that coming. I drank too much water, so I'm just trying not to burp on camera. So yeah, she won it. It was great. They were answering questions. And the funny part about it is the question that she won on was a question that Laurel told her about a little office that her father had them open on a little island. And they asked, like, where's the island where we have our smallest office? And it was the office where Laurel daddy worked or have his stuff or whatever. That's kind of it with the interns. Nobody else, like Asher still doesn't have a job. Oliver, Connor's boyfriend. I can't remember if his name was Oliver or Oscar, and I hate that because I like him. But, you know, he has his own IT firm, and he goes to Nate at the DA's office to try to get him to use his services. Like, you know, your services can be hacked. You know, it's easy to get in it. And Nate's like, you can only know that unless you've hacked them before. Have you hacked them before? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. We see that whole thing. We see how Laurel tries to go to Bonnie to get Bonnie to hire her as a intern. She's like, because no one will hire me because of my grades and because of the whole thing. We working with Annalise, and plus I'm pregnant. You know, initially Bonnie's like, no, you can't work here. Frank isn't for it either. Not Frank. Nate isn't for it either. But, you know, Laurel ends up calling Frank, talking to Frank and saying, I need you to talk to Bonnie and get Bonnie to have me work at the DA's office. So he does talk to Bonnie like, look, Bonnie, she's by herself. She's pregnant with a dead man's baby. And again, she's pregnant, you know, to help her out. So she does give Laurel the job at the intern at the DA's office. And Nate's like, she wore you down, huh? And she was like, she's pregnant. She's by herself, you know. she's not on Team Annalise, and she needed a job, so, you know, it is what it is. It's fine. So, you know, that's how the interns situations are going. Bonnie and Nate is almost like a Bonnie and Clyde time thing right now. You know, they trying to work together because they both don't like Annalise. But it's coming off real bitter bitches. You know what I'm saying? It's coming off real, I'm just unhappy with what happened and I'm going to try to make her pay even though she's not paying no attention to y'all right now. Annalise goes to the town for Annalise because her story ties into Nate and Bonnie. So she is going to the public defender's office. As we know, public defenders is when anyone goes to jail if they can't afford a lawyer. A lawyer will be provided to you, and it's always a public defender. But we also know public defenders are swamped with cases just because so many people don't have lawyers. So she is going there to try to get a couple of cases because her caseload is slow right now. And she's like, you know, she needs the money. She'll get paid for it, basically. And the head of the office gives her a case of this guy who has been in jail for 12 years. She actually was his lawyer 12 years ago, and he did an appeal in prison himself, and he's trying to get out of jail. He was accused and convicted of killing his child's mother by pushing her out the window. And he's always said he was innocent, but he was found guilty. And so this is the case that Annalise has. And they're saying that he was accused based on how he looks. Well, why is that? Because he has tattoos everywhere. And, you know, on his face, on his neck, on his arms, you know, he's covered in tats. And he's like, you know, when he's talking to Annalise, he's like, yeah, you know, I got all these tats when I was 16. You know, I was in the gang, and this is how we repped our set. And that is, I remember back in the day, people, you know, from my neighborhood who was, you know, gang bangers or whatever, they would brand themselves, like, with NFL, because I was, you know, raised in Detroit on Linwood, and, you know, that's what it was. And yeah, but, you know, so that is how some people, you know, show their love or their loyalty to their gangs. So he was like, you know, I got it when I was 16, but I met her when I was 18, and she made me the life up. We were together. She had a baby, but I did not kill her. She was depressed. I think she had not bipolar. I think she had postpartum. And he was like, you know, I kept telling him that I was innocent. You know, yes, we had a fight. The fight was because she told me that our daughter wasn't mine. So I called her all kind of names. You know, how she was a slut. And how, you know, the daughter would probably grow up to be a slut like her. How he just said some really, really, really mean things. He's like, but I didn't kill her. You know, I did not kill her. You know, she jumped and no one would believe me. So this is the story. This is the case that Annalise has, that she has to prove that he didn't do it. They kind of had no evidence. It was a thing of she was out the window and he was there, and they had nothing to think of why she was suicidal. But because of how he looked in his gang history, it was like, you know, it was an easy thing for the jury to say he was guilty. So the reason I said it was interesting was because Annalise is back. The good fighting lawyer Annalise is back, and I loved it. Okay, you know, she was, you know, looking at different evidence, and, you know, when she went to, she was also like going to her therapist and talking about how she just hoped that she can win the case, and she's just so confused, and she almost drank. And why did she almost drink? Well, I'll tell you why. Because Nate and Bonnie ass was out there being Bonnie and Clyde against Annalise. Yes, they were upset. So the prosecutor in the case also works, of course, at the DA's office where Nate works. He asked Nate to come talk in the case. So Nate is testifying, saying, well, oh yeah, back then we found this message that the boy deleted, and the message was from the girl saying, you know, I know we're having a big problems, but I need you to come home so we can fix this. And he was insinuating, well, he deleted the message because he didn't want anyone to know that they were fighting. That's why he's guilty. And Annalise was like, so you're just going to suggest that, you know, we've all deleted messages. Are you saying that because he deleted the message, he's guilty? And she kind of also said, you haven't even been on this case long. You probably had, 20 minutes to look into it. How can you say, you know, without a doubt that this is the reason the message was deleted? basically calling him ill-equipped to do the job of what he was doing. I'm like, okay, Annalise, hand his ass to him and make your case go well. He doesn't like that. So after that, he goes to Bonnie, and he's like, I think we should mess with Annalise. So they get to court. They go find Oliver or Oscar. Damn, I need to look up what that boy name is. I can't remember. Connor's boyfriend, the IT dude. And they say, hey, you want to make some money? They then pay him to hack Annalise to see her phone records or just to see something on her about this case. And at first he feels uncomfortable doing it. But Bonnie's sneaky deaky ass is like, she didn't even have the guts to fire you to your face. Bitch, really? Okay, Bonnie. You all the way off of it. Okay, Bonnie. That was some punk shit, but okay. And he kind of agrees with her, and he looks into her phone records, and he finds a recording that Annalise did with him, the boy who was in prison, where she was asking him what happened, and he was saying, well, yes, we were arguing that night because she told me the baby wasn't mine, and I was pissed. So what does Nate do? Nate takes that information to the prosecutor. Then the prosecutor then says to the guy who they think did it, you killed her because she told you. No, he then says, I think we should have a DNA test between him and the daughter. The reason he killed her was because he found out that he wasn't the daughter. Now the daughter in the court, she didn't know the man wasn't her daddy, and Annalise is like, what the fuck? But she saw Nate go up to the guy. Nate in the back of the court smiled like, oh yep, gotcha, bitch. And Annalise is pissed because the guy who was on trial is like, no, baby, you're my daughter no matter what. You're my daughter. I'm your father. I love you. Because you all have now ruined this. Her mama already dead. Okay? And now you done ruined the little girl's life. So Annalise is pissed. Yep, she's pissed. And she's so pissed, she felt like she wants to drink, so she's going to her car. And she then sees Nate and Bonnie having a conversation in the parking lot. So she goes on to talk to them. And she's like, this is what y'all did. Y'all want to come after me. That's fine. Why would you ruin a little girl's life? She then says to Bonnie, that's what made you a horrible lawyer. Y'all gonna be arguing? So Nate trying to keep them apart. And that's not what happened. What did she say? I might not even wrote it down. I think I just remembered it. Anywho, yeah, they, just saying how, she was just saying, you're just mad because I beat you. And she was like, but I can beat your ass. I'm like, Annalise, calm down, girl. Ain't you on probation? And she lunged at Bonnie. Of course, Bonnie back. And Nate had to grab her and told Bonnie to go get in the car. And, Nate then says to Annalise, it was all me. It wasn't her. She was like, whatever. I don't believe it. Bullshit. And she walks away and they go the other way. It was Nate because Nate did say to Bonnie, we can mess with her. And that's what they did. They used, Connor's boyfriend to hack her stuff to get some information. But what they didn't know was that she would get so pissed about it. And so, yeah. We also see that her therapist called the probation people to have her drug tested because he felt like she may have been drinking. And he's trying to mess with her. She feels like he's trying to break her down so that she can be weaker than what she is and kind of make her drink. It's like, I'm not going to let you do that to me. It ain't going to happen that way. So, after all that, Annalise goes home. She's on her way home. She gets a phone call. And it's like the morgue saying, we have a body here that we think you can identify. And I'm like, another body? Not who did? So, she gets to the morgue, and who's the dead body? Jasmine, the prostitute. Yes, Jasmine, when she just got out of jail last episode, who was free. Her record was expunged. She had a brand new clean slate. Was dead on the slab, dead. And Annalise just looked at her like, oh my God, she's really, yeah, that's Jasmine. Her name, I just got out of jail. What happened? And they're like, we haven't had the autopsy. We haven't had any toxicology, but we can see the track marks in her arm. And she was found in the area where we found other people who OD'd, so it looked like she OD'd. And Annalise, of course, feels bad because, one, she got out of jail. Two, she got out of jail and gave her money. So she probably feeling like, damn, I got her out of prison only for her to die. Ain't that some shit? So it's hard for her to handle that as well. So from there, you know, when she gets home, there's an envelope sitting on her door. And she's like, where does the envelope come from? And she goes in the house. She assumes Frank left it because she's like, Frank is the only person who knows where she stayed in this hotel. But she called Frank, and Frank like, I didn't leave you anything, you know, but I can find out who did. And Frank does, because Frank told her, I'm going to be there for you whenever you need me. Okay? Whether you want me here or not, I'm going to be here. And he's holding steady to that. So he comes over, and she actually let him in. And he lets her know that it was a person who like works across the street from the DA, from the public defender's office, who left the packet. And come to find out, it is a video from an ATM across the street from where the girl died 12 years ago. And the footage showed the girl in her apartment. She climbs out on the windowsill and she jumps to her death. She is not pushed. She jumps to her death. And about 5 seconds after she jumped, you see the guy run to the window looking because she jumped out the window, which proves he ain't do it. And we cut to Annalise then going to the jail to talk to her client. And she gives him a phone and says, say exactly what I say. And they don't show what he said. The next thing we see is Annalise walking into court, and the director of the public defender's office walking in too, like, hey, you know, the client called me and told me to come down here. You know what's going on. You know, he's scared that you're going to lose the case. And I'm like, when did he call her? Did he call her last night? Well, Annalise gave him the phone? Okay. And she's like, you know, we'll just come inside and see. So they go inside. And who was the first witness that Annalise calls? She calls the director of the goddamn public defender's office, get her on stage, and she like, is it true that, you know, you guys are always like overworked? You have too many cases, you know, things can slip through the cracks, blah, 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 blah. And the girl like, yeah, you know, sometimes things happen. She then brings out the tape. And she plays the tape. And we find out the tape was in evidence 12 years ago, but she was a public defender then, and she didn't look through all the evidence. And she then knew she had it, and she knew she had it like 2 years ago, but she never brought it forth. And she gave the case to Annalise, hoping Annalise could win it, and then she left the evidence at Annalise's door. But what she did not know is that Annalise would call her on the stand and make it be known that she fucked up. That she, for one, as a public defender, did not do her due diligence to look at all the evidence. Because had she looked through the evidence the first time 12 years ago, he would have never went to prison for 12 years. Secondly, you then noticed it 2 years ago and didn't bring it up. Okay, you waited 2 years to have me come get the case, and then you still waited to secretly leave me the evidence. And she served her up on a platter. And then she was like, you know, it was a mistake. I'm so sorry. You know, I had a 45 caseloads, you know, back then. What else did she say? She just kept giving reasons and saying that she wasn't trying to make excuses. She would have seen what was going on, and that she was oh so sorry, oh so sorry, oh so sorry. And, you know, the guy, of course, gets off because he ain't do it. But no, the public defender director lady, oh, she's not having it, ma'am. No, she is not. She is pissed off. She's like, you could have won this case without bringing me into it. You could have easily took that video into chambers and talked to the judge, and I didn't have to be brought into this. I'm going to lose my license for this. I'm going to be disbarred. And he's just like, if they didn't disbar me, they're not going to disbar you. And the damn lady spit on Annalise's suit. I'm like, bitch, did you spit on Annalise? Is that what you did? And Annalise grabbed her and was about to shake her up, but she just hemmed her up a little bit and let her ass go, because she realized, I can't kill this lady. I can't, because I go to jail. And, you know, but the lady was upset because it is her fault. So the ending of it is like Annalise talking to her therapist about everything that happened. And, you know, that's when she goes into, you know, you're not going to control me. You know, you're trying to get me to drink. Or you're trying to break me. I know you're the one who sent the person come give me that random drug test. You know, you're trying to keep me shook. You're trying to keep me shook, and it ain't gonna work. She also said that she's going to try to do a class action lawsuit against the state and against the public defender's office. Why do you say? Because it's their fault that the people who deserve a public defender don't get a fair shot. And for me, it took me back to the whole like Khalif Browder story, where he had a public defender who just didn't do their due diligence, and he was in jail for like 3 years, and he ended up killing himself when he got out. And that was a true story. So I feel like Shonda took a piece of that true story of people who get public defenders and don't get good representation, and they fall between the cracks, and you have innocent people in prison for years, and then they're in prison for years and their life is ruined. You know, the lady Jasmine, even though it's fictional, she was in prison for years, and even when she got out, she was already so institutionalized and so broken that she ended up ODing. And then Alice even said, you know, who knows what's going to happen to this guy? You know, he's been in jail for 12 years. What is he going to do with himself now? And I loved it. I loved it. It was really real life imitated through art, through TV, and it instantly brought me back to the Kalief Browder story. If you don't know who that is, just Google it. He was a kid who was in jail for 3 years from the time he was around 16 or 17, you know, because someone accused him of taking a book bag that he never took. And because his public defender just kept letting the trial be reset and rescheduled and rescheduled and rescheduled, he stayed in Rikers Island for 3 years. And he was like just treated horribly in prison. And it was simply because he could not afford a better lawyer. He got a public defender, and the public defenders are overwhelmed with cases, and it's the exact same thing. So I loved this episode. You know, absolutely loved it. And she said that, you know, the reason she was doing the lawsuit was because public defenders are not good, and innocent people are being saved too late, which means you can get someone out of prison after doing so many years in prison, but they're already so screwed up from being in prison, it's too late to save them. Had they had better representation from the beginning, they wouldn't be in prison. You know what I'm saying? So, love that story. You know, it does fast forward to 2 months later, where we see Michaela and at the hospital, and this time she's in the haze, and she's like looking through a glass in the hospital, and you know, Annalise's doctor comes running up, and he thinks it's Annalise from the side, and he's like, Michaela? And we see that she's covered in blood, and she's like, is he dead? He's dead, isn't he? And he's looking at her like, what? And she's like, everyone around us dies. And then she kind of just breaks down crying. And then we see what she was looking into. She was looking into a nursery. Now remember, we already saw Laura wake up asking where's her baby in the first episode. We then see in the second episode that someone was hurt at Annalise's hotel, and that there was blood all over the elevator. And then in this particular scene, we see Michaela with blood on her asking, is he dead? So it's kind of wrapping up this. We're trying to figure out what's going on. And I can't wait for the next episode. So, that was my review of the Have and Have-Nots. I hope you guys enjoyed. If not, enjoy it anyway. So, until next time, I am Jay Lee. This is Jay's Corner. Peace.